right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's webinar on PPO hacks, how to credential and collect like an expert. We'd love for this to be an engaging conversation today. So if you have any questions, please type it in the Q&A box down below, and we will get back to you with an answer via email shortly. Also, just so you know, CE is not available for this webinar live or on demand. Like we talked about, the title for today is PPO hacks, how to credential and collect like an expert, presented by Henry Schein, eAssist, and Unitas. Just want to introduce ourselves here. Again, my name is Phylip Curtis. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing at Unitas PPO Solutions. I'll turn the mic over to Amy to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Amy Spaulding. I'm the Director of Operations at eAssist Dental Solutions.
Tell us a little bit more about eAssist.
We invented optimized revenue cycle management, front office services for dentists. So for more than 10 years, the eAssist platform has been putting money back in the pockets of the nation's dedicated dentists, reducing the stress of their teams and creating more reliable cash flow. Our platform is comprised of dental billing specialists serving over 2,800 dental offices and dental service organizations. Today, we have collected more than $17.48 billion from insurance companies.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks.
Again, like I said, I'm from Unitas. Unitas is a sister company of eAssist and Henry Schein. We've been helping dental offices with PPO negotiations since 2011. We've worked with thousands of practices, all 50 states, to help with PPO negotiation and credentialing. Right now, we just passed 2,000 active clients. We're located in Mesa, Arizona. We have over 100 people on staff. This is all we do, is help to negotiate, optimize, and credential. And so excited to be on this webinar with you today, Amy, so we can talk about these different hacks that dental practices can employ in their practices. So what we're going to go over today are kind of three key topics. I'll cover the first two, and then Amy's going to dive in and talk about the third one. The first thing we're going to cover today is the little known fact about your PPOs that can make or break your profitability. Second thing we'll talk about is how to discover the number one most overlooked step before joining PPOs that every practice should take. And then number three is to know how to bill your PPOs in order to maximize your revenue. And we're going to dive into all that information today. So the little known fact about PPOs that can make or break your profitability, we're going to talk about that first. So what is most important for everybody to understand is that when it comes to PPO insurance, before you can improve the reimbursement rates that you're getting paid on, before you can improve your claims process, you have to understand at its foundation how insurance companies work. What we found is that far too much dental practices see insurance as like an on or an off switch. So they think about it as either I'm in network or I'm out of network, which is correct. But the problem is that it's much deeper than that. So when you get into the in-network option, there's actually three ways that a practice or a doctor themselves can be in-network with insurance. And that matters so much because, number one, the type of participation and how you're in network affects not only how your claims are paid, but it affects what reimbursement rates you're paid. And so before you can try to figure out how to increase your reimbursement rates and to credential and collect like an expert and get higher reimbursements from your insurance companies, you have to understand those differences. You have to be able to know how to find them out. And so that way you can credential and collect like an expert. So the first one is the most common. It's what's called a direct participation. So when you're in network with an insurance company, like I said, there's these three types, but are not direct participation, a direct contract. The first participation type is a direct contract. So what this is like is where you've credentialed as a practitioner with an insurance company, you filled out that paperwork, you've agreed to get paid according to those reimbursement rates, so that when you treat those patients and you send a claim to that insurance company and it comes back from that insurance, they're paying you according to their fee schedule. So what I've just described when I describe that to most practices is they go, yeah, that sounds like insurance. That doesn't sound like anything new. I already understand how that works, which great. That's awesome. That's a direct contract. But that's only one way you can participate with an insurance. An even more common way that you can participate with insurance that typically happens to you, not usually something that you elect in for, is when two PPOs lease from each other. So the way that this happens is, let's say you've got two PPOs at your practice. The orange one, let's say it's Aetna. The green one, let's say it's Guardian. So you may have credentialed directly with Aetna. You saw their fee schedule. You like their patients. You've treated them patients before. You know their claim process. You were happy with it, so you credentialed with Aetna. Well, Aetna, along with every other insurance company in the country, has the power to lease that contract out to a totally different insurance company. In fact, what can happen is that Guardian can come along and say, hey, we want this doctor in network. We haven't been able to get him or her in network. So they can come to Aetna and they can create a leasing relationship. So they could sign some paperwork where they elect to borrow that doctor through the Aetna contract. So what that essentially means is, without you ever really credentialing with Guardian, Guardian can come to Aetna, create an agreement with each other. They pay a little fee to Aetna, and now Guardian's leasing you through that contract. So Guardian patients now start showing up at your practice, or maybe they already were, but they were being previously paid out of network. And now all of a sudden, magically, those claims are now in network. And unless somebody's paying attention to it, and if they are, they're going to be really confused and think to themselves, hold on, when did we credential with Guardian? The answer is you never credentialed with Guardian. What happened was Guardian borrowed you through an existing relationship, an existing in-network contract. And so when I describe this to practices, sometimes they think through that and they go, hold on, whoa. First of all, how is that legal? And how do I get out of it? And that's not the intention of us describing it like this at all, because this is just one way for you to be a network. It might be actually the most profitable way for you to be a network. It's not bad by its nature. It's just a participation type. So number one, why it's legal is because when you credential with insurances, in the contracts that you signed, there is an addendum in all of those that allows them, it has a provision that allows them to lease you out to other insurance companies. So that's why it's legal, and they may not have to notify you about it. The other thing to think about is the reason why you don't necessarily want to get out of this contract is because, like I said, it might be the most profitable arrangement to you. So that's not our intention today, is to say this is a bad participation type, this is a good participation type. It's just important to know that there's differences, and that depending on those differences, there's different negotiation strategies and optimization strategies that can be employed to get you onto a higher fee schedule. So if you're trying to credential a new practice, a new doctor, or you're an existing practice and you want to make sure you're getting paid the most competitive reimbursements, knowing that these differences are there is super important. Okay, the third type is umbrella networking. So umbrella networking is very commonly compared to PPO leasing. It's just slightly different. So umbrella networks, most practices would recognize these names, but most of your family members won't recognize these names. So companies like Carrington, Connection, Dynamax, Zealous, they're not really considered an insurance company because they don't sell plans to patients. So most people in the general marketplace wouldn't know who they are. You're not going to have a Dynamax patient walk in the door or a Zealous patient walk in the door. What an umbrella network is they're also more commonly referred to as a third-party administrator. So they themselves are an aggregator of multiple PPOs and a repricer, and they are kind of the intermediary between those two equations. So number one, the practice and the multiple PPOs. So if you joined an umbrella network like Dynamax, they have their own fee schedule that they've offered to you with their own reimbursement rates. And then when you credential with them, they turn around and shoot your information out to anybody in their network. So now what that does is it's like kind of like throwing 5 darts at the wall, and whatever one sticks will stick. So it gives all these individual insurance companies the ability to say, if we want to access Dr. Smith through Dynamax because he wasn't in a network with us previously, no, we can. Or what it also gives them the option to do is to say, well, we've been accessing Dr. Alicia through this other contract, but now that we can access him through or her through Dynamax, we're going to access her through Dynamax. So by its nature, it's not a bad way to participate with insurance. It's just a way to participate with insurance. So sometimes umbrella network fee schedules are super high. That might be the most profitable way for you to participate. Sometimes they're not. So it just comes down to determining what's the path to the most profitable reimbursement and electing to contract that way. And again, if you're already contracted, it's a matter of trying to figure out how to optimize your fee schedules and your participation so that you're under the most profitable type of participation. Okay. So when it comes down to the most overlooked step before joining PPOs, that's right. That is it right there. The crux of not understanding that there's leasing options, there's umbrella options, and direct options. So before credentialing with an insurance company, in an ideal world, you would determine which insurance companies each provider is participating with and how they are direct through another PPO or through a network. Or if you're starting from scratch, it's which PPOs do you want to join? And then figuring out how am I going to join those. But if you're like 98% of the market, which is typically an established practice, you're already in network with a bunch of PPOs. So in order to optimize what's already there, you need to figure out, of all of my doctors, right, how are they participating right now? All of them could be different. So just because you have 3 doctors, they could be triplets. They could have all credentialed on the same day. They could have the same name. Doesn't matter. Because there's 3 separate doctors, hypothetically, it's possible that they have different participation types. So Dr. Smith, number one, he could be a network direct with Aetna, and his brother could be a network with Aetna through Guardian, and his sister could be a network with Aetna through Sun Life, right? Just because of at the same practice under the same tax ID number doesn't matter. It's very possible that they have different participation paths. So what that really means is I could come to the practice if I was an Aetna patient, get a cleaning. He could get paid $85 through his reimbursement rate. I come to his brother next week, same treatment. Now he gets reimbursed $45. This one gets reimbursed $65. Same patient, different doctors, different reimbursement rates, which we don't want. So first thing we need to figure out is, number one, is the participation type different per doctor? And then just map that out, understanding where the direct contracts are, the leasing contracts. And then what needs to be done is you need to negotiate those existing contracts, right, to get those fees to increase, and then gather free proposals from the other companies and understand that when it comes to optimization, instead of being frustrated with the fact that they can lease from each other, what we do at Unitas is we not only negotiate on your behalf, but we look at the web that exists in the marketplace and say, there's actually 5 or 6 opportunities here. So if we're talking about Aetna, you might be direct with Aetna, but Aetna actively leases from 7 or 8 other PPOs. Same thing applies to Cigna and Guardian and Sun Life and multiple insurance companies. So what we're trying to accomplish is not only do we want to negotiate what you're currently being paid on right now, whatever method that is, whether that's a direct or leasing or an umbrella, but once we've negotiated that, then we want to go look at all the other available options that are out there for that contract, because you're only on one of possibly 5 or 6 different paths of participation. So when we talk about PPO optimization, that's what we mean. In a nutshell, it's like, I know where I'm working and I know where I work, where I live, and there's probably 30 different ways I could drive home. Some of them are faster, some of them are shorter, some of them are longer in distance, but faster in speed. The same thing applies to PPO participation. There's 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 different ways you could be in network with that insurance, and every single different type of participation has its own set of fee schedules. So it almost begs the question, if I have options of participation through different carriers, I'm guaranteed to get different offers that have differing reimbursement rates. So if they're different, that means that there's going to be one that's the best and one that's the worst out of the 6 or 7 or 10 or 15. So our game is to say, let's improve what is in place now, then go look at the other options. And odds are you're not on the best. And that we'll try to figure out how to get you switched to the best through our optimization strategy. So again, we'll negotiate the contracts, gather proposals, compare the fee schedules to each other to determine that best path of participation, and then implement that. So it's one thing to know, hey, there's 7 or different other options out here. It's an entirely different thing to be able to get you on to that other option. So if you're in network with Aetna directly and you want to switch to being in network with Aetna through Carrington, the steps to accomplish that is a series of paperwork between multiple companies. And it's complicated. We do it every day. So we do it for thousands of practices. And we know how to do it, but it's not an exact science. And it's something that we've been workflowing out and figuring out over the past decade. But ultimately, it's something that you would work with an expert to accomplish, is to not only negotiate on your behalf, but to get you optimized. So the first question is, again, if you have a Q&A box down below, is have you noticed PPO to PPO leasing in your practice? So have you noticed where previously you were in network and then all of a sudden you're now out of network, or you've been out of network for years, you never filled out an application, and then now magically you're in network? Or if you have multiple doctors, have you ever noticed that for some reason they can treat the same patient, but they're both paid 2 different reimbursement rates? Those are all signs that you're being leased. And again, like I said, that's not a bad thing. It's just a type of participation. It just further confirms my point, which is every PPO has multiple paths to participation. Odds are you're not on the best one. So working with Unitas helps you ensure that if you're currently established, we'll help optimize what it is. And if you're starting new practice or adding a new doctor, we can optimize prior to getting you credentialed. Okay. All right. I'm going to hand the mic back over to Amy, and I'm going to stop the screen share as well.
All right. Let's screen share. That look good?
Looks great.
All right. Thanks, Phil. Yes, we're moving into, you're in those networks. Phylip and his team have made sure that you're getting that appropriate reimbursement. But now we want to make sure it's just not a piece of paper that says the amount you're going to get. We actually get that payment. So matching the appropriate code to the service provided is where we talk next. So did you know that there's 176 CDT code changes in the past 4 years? I don't know about you, but for me, I can't keep up with them all, right? So each year we have reference updates and new revised material and ADA materials and Dr. Blair over at Practice Booster, and all of their great information along with their insurance solutions newsletter. That is amazing. And if you're looking and in that chat box, you were talking to Phil, I'd love for you to talk to me too. Can you share your favorite billing and coding reference material in the chat? We'd love to learn more. If you're using the Dr. Blair coding manuals, those are what I find running with my team of over 1,800, that we have these materials that tell us, hey, when we do this code, this is how we're going to make sure that we're using the correct code, we're making sure the correct narrative is in there, and any attachments that are necessary. That's where these manuals really come in to help. What we do see coming is that correct coding often results in higher revenue. Many of our clients, when they're using these reference materials, have a higher percentage of revenue than others that aren't. And as practices obtain reimbursements that were once unpaid because of misunderstandings or misreported codes, that's Dr. Blair in just a narrative, right? One of the ones that I'd use here too, in addition to what he has, is missed codes. Not only are you not understanding or using a code that maybe you shouldn't have, but really just not knowing that there is a code out there that you could be reimbursed for. Those reference materials are like gold in a can. They really are. They pay for themselves over and over. So again, if you're using different reference material, we'd love to know what that is. And if you'd like more information on those materials, we sure have them. Please let us know. We'll get you in touch with them. That leads us to, really just investing in current, complete, and accurate coding reference materials each year. It really improves claim reimbursement treatments. If you're doing it every 3 to 4 years, your team won't find it important. And if the team isn't finding it important when they're sending out your claims, then gosh, that reimbursement just sits there. The insurance carriers don't have to pay it out to you if it's not coded right. And we've seen upwards of 2 to 3% in revenue increases. And it's a really good thing to look at year over year of maybe when you didn't use it to when you are, and really seeing that difference for yourself. So let's talk about just, again, which coding resource is best for your practice. Please talk to your Henry Schein field representative about it when they come out to you. They're really good. They've got all of this material, know where to find it. And if you're having a problem with a specific code, they have like a phone a friend to us where they can call us up and say, hey, Amy, I'm out here with, Dr. Smith, and they're really talking about this code. Can you help? And we definitely do that live to live conversation because we are here to support and bring peace of mind. Let's talk about claim accuracy. How often in your practice is your team just looking at all of the claims, the narratives, the attachments, the codes that were sent out and saying, not only is this a clean claim, but I know if I was on the other side of this claim, there's no way it can be denied. Let's talk about that for a minute. We've got to make sure, first and foremost, that accurate patient and insurance information at that very beginning of, hi, I'm a new patient, I'm filling out my paperwork, to, hi, I'm back every 6 months for my cleaning, to, hi, I have an emergency, can I come in? Each and every opportunity is a time and for us to pause and ask that patient for their insurance information. It changes so often. I think there was a stat recently that said that the worker now stays in their job less than 48 months. So when you're thinking about that and thinking about insurance is kicking in and them having it and dental being added and ortho riders and all of those children under age 26, all of those things, right? Stepchildren and all of those nuances. We have to make sure that we have that information so that that aging doesn't sit for another 30 days. Anytime an insurance carrier can wait to pay, they're going to wait to pay. And they're not going to tell us until day 29, hey, we're waiting to get paid. They have 30 days to let us know. So one of the tips here that we want to make sure that you and your colleagues know is the conversation should sound something like this. Hi, Philip. Nice to see you again. Hey, just confirming. Your insurance is still the same? Philip is always going to say, yep, sure is. So we flip this narrative a little bit and we say, hi, Philip. Nice to see you again. Are you still working at Unitas? Are you still working at Boeing? Are you still working at Claim Jumper? Because we know if they're not working there anymore, we know this, right? And we're to be the experts in that front office. We know their insurance has changed. It's a very different conversation. So please, when you know that they're not working there anymore, we have to get a copy of their insurance card and their photo ID to make sure it is. We need to always check all the claims for their legal name on that ID and their date of birth and their ID number. And then here's the big one. We have to check those claims for the correct insurance information. How many of you, this is where we can get into that chat again, have sent a claim off and it comes back and it says you've sent it to the wrong address? Or you send an appeal to the regular address and it's not the appeals address, because why would that be easy, right? Why would they just have one address? No, they have an appeals address. So we really want to make sure we're checking those claims before we send them out. And, we're sending all of the attachments necessary. So let's talk about those attachments. Oh, yeah. Primary and secondary claims. Supporting documentation in both. I've got a tip here for you too. If it's not documented, it didn't happen. It just is that reason on the insurance carrier's side when they're receiving that claim to say, oh, no documentation? I can see under mining decay on number 3, I can see that there was a crowd there before. I can see on the claim that it says more than 5 years old, but no narrative. Or the narrative is cut off, right? You have to make sure you're not getting long-winded, doc. You got to keep it to SOAP. And when you're keeping it to that SOAP note, we've got to just say what it is in that first 85 characters. This is a big one. If you're sending your claims electronically, don't get it cut off. And if you're using the same word to start your narrative every time, they are going to pick up on those at the carrier. They're using AI now more and more. We're seeing that on their end, they're able to process claims faster, which is great, but they're also able to deny claims faster, but they still aren't going to let us know until the 29th day. So remember that each and every patient is just that. They're their unique person. Now, of course, you want to have your standard template that you're following through. SOAP is great. And just ensuring that each patient doesn't have that same stock narrative. It's really going to lead to you, especially on those major procedures, not getting paid in a timely manner. So what tips and tricks do you have? I know you guys have them. I'd love to hear them. If there's something you do in your software, we'd love to learn that too. And just be able to share knowledge back and forth across this platform of doctors with, Henry Schein here, and just say, hey, these are the tips and tricks that we found. So if you have any for me, please share them along. We want to keep those claims squeaky clean so that we get those payments coming in. Now, here is what we know to be true, and we don't see often. When we come in to help a practice and their aging is like, oh, just sitting. And we're picking up those major services that have been rendered. And we see, implants, or we see crowns, or we see periodontal scalings and root planning sitting there. The first thing that we look at is every year, patients are coming in on average, right? Every 6 months, good patients. Every other time, they have to have a periodontal charting every 12 months. It is that number one onlooker for carriers to say, when was this periodontal chart done? Oh, it's 12 months and a day. Nope, thank you very much. We're going to send it back. We're seeing more and more clinicians having to have their patients come back. And it's very hard to do now, right? You've already done that periodontal cleaning. It's not as bad with crowns and things like that. But if you've already done that periodontal cleaning, their pockets aren't going to be what they were before you did the periodontal cleaning. So we've got to make sure that periodontal charting is in the last 12 months. Current pre-op x-rays. This one, you guys are pretty good at, right? When we come in and we're helping our clients look at that aging, we have those current pre-op x-rays. Are they great pre-op x-rays? So what we can get better at is taking nice, clear docs. What I'd encourage you to look at as that pre-op and that post-op x-rays. Are they clear? If you worked for that carrier, is there anything on that x-ray where you go, well, it's just a little cut, or it's just a little off here, right? I'm going to tell them I can't see it. Let's see if that's their thing. Let's see if they really come back and ask them. We don't want to give them that option. So we want to make sure they're nice and clean. And the number one thing that, well, I guess then second, right? The periodontal charting is great. But if you're doing restorative, a picture tells 1,000 words. And it doesn't cost you anything. It's an intraoral photo. It takes 2 seconds for your assistant to take for you. And that picture will show that undermining decay, those cracks, those fractures that maybe we can't see on an x-ray. So we want to make sure that we're really giving that clinical director on that insurance side a picture that says, oh, yeah, this needed to be done. How about if you looked through all of your patients and did an audit once a year to say, do all of our patients have an up-to-date periodontal chart? And if not, who have we missed? How can we flag them in our software to say when they come in the next time, that is the most urgent and important thing for us to take care of? That is one of the steps that we do to ensure that our clients are set up for success and don't have that aging there. So sharing that tip to you. When we're sending those clean primary and secondary claims, let's make sure that we're using the 2024 ADA claim form. You'll never believe now. I mean, I know we're into this year a little bit, but we have clients coming on that are still using the old ADA form. And I think it was like 2020. It wasn't 23. It was like 21 or something like that, right? So if there's one thing that's going to start happening for sure, is those claims, they're going to say, it's not on that ADA form, and it's going to age your claims out 30 days. So double check that your software is up to date with that. We also, the best practice is to keep the office's fee on the ledger to cut down on debt adjustments on the account. We don't want to be, putting on the ledger the UCR fee. So you think that your provider produced, $2,200 worth of work today, when really they've only produced $1,800 worth of work today. You don't want to have to do those adjustments back and forth. All the necessary documentation is attached to the claim like we talked about. And please make sure that claims are submitted under the correct rendering provider, right? Hygienists, except in the state of Colorado, are not rendering providers. And so we have to make sure that they're working under a clinician. So you want to make sure that that clinician that does that exam for that hygienist that day is the provider on the claim form. You'll never believe how many times, an audit will come up for something else, and they come in and they see that the doctor on that claim was not on the schedule. And then that opens another can of worms of why is the owner doctor, right? That's what I usually hear. Well, we do it under the owner doctor. Well, was the owner doctor in that practice that day? The number one flag that they look for. And is the claim is sent electronically when available, or at least through their portal for that carrier, if you only have one or two carriers that you're working with. So sending clean claims daily ensures timely reimbursement, which keeps and helps keep patients feeling secure in your practice's ability. There's nothing worse that will take, like, you can have the best coffee up in the front. You can have the best girl or guy in the front saying hello, and they know everything about Mrs. Jones. But if Mrs. Jones gets an EOB 6 months from now about a cleaning for her periodontal cleaning that now isn't being denied, everything that you did that day, all of that hard work that you did, your staff did, all of the monies you put into that beautiful coffee bar or the granite countertop, it's not what they're. So we want to make sure that when they see that EOB, that's when the visit's over. Right? The visit starts when they come in, but the visit isn't over when they leave your practice, brick and mortar. It's over the day that they see their EOB and go, oh, this is what Becky in the front office told me. This is what Jim in the front office told me. Gosh, they're on their stuff. I just love them. Let me send them some cookies from Crumble. All right. So we're here to help. Phylip and I, you may be experiencing paralysis analysis, so don't worry. We're here to support you on everything that we gave you today. I know it's a lot, but if you're needing to optimize your PPO fees and streamline your dental billing processes, you will get the results you're dreaming of with professional support. And if you would like to have someone reach out to you for a free consultation or to learn more, this is where the poll comes in. And or in the comments, you can put your information in there. We're happy to reach out to you and talk to you more about both of these. And if there's any questions that you have that you think maybe we could answer for you or go find the answer for you, please type them in there. We'll get back to you right away. And I think this is where we turn it back over now. Is Business Solutions team at Henry Schein. This is who you would reach out to if you wanted to reach out direct. We'll leave this up for a minute or two. Phylip, any words before we jump?
No, I appreciate it. I just wanted to invite everybody to continue to think about what we talked about today, which is, are you sending clean claims? Have you noticed that you're not being paid under a direct contract or through leasing arrangements? And again, at the end of the day, what we talked about from the beginning is how to credential and collect like an expert. And part of the way that you accomplish that is by handing it over to the experts. And at Unitas and eAssist, respectively, we're the experts in both collections and in contracting and negotiating reimbursements. So again, just invite you all to go to henryscheindental.com/eAssist to book or schedule a consultation with eAssist. Again, if you go to henryscheindental.com/Unitas, you can book a call with us. Either way, if you reach either one of our teams, we'll get you routed to both because we're happy sister companies that we've been working together for quite some time. So appreciate you, Amy. Appreciate getting us to chat through this, and we'll let everybody get on with their day. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.